Under the Skin is a science fiction film directed by Jonathan Glazer. It received a festival debut in 2013 and was released to the public in 2014. It tells the story of an otherworldly being who impersonates a human woman. She lures men into her home with the promise of sex, where they fall into an abyss. She meets a man who is kind to her, tries to have a relationship with him, but finds that it is impossible due to her alien anatomy. She runs away and is attacked by a would-be rapist, who tears off her human disguise. He burns her alive, and she dies in the snow. The film never explicitly says that she is an alien from another planet, but the novel on which this is based makes it clear. Still, the director has said that the source material is barely adapted at all, so with only the film as our guide, we are left to wonder what exactly just happened. What is unique about the film is that it shrugs off science fiction conventions and absorbs elements of documentary, tragedy, and most surprising of all, neorealism. Italian neorealism was a national film movement characterized by stories about the poor, often utilizing non-professional actors. It focused on poverty, social justice, and moral choices faced in post-World War II Italy. Is it possible to have a science fiction film combined with Italian neorealism? Neorealism is characterized in many ways, so let's go through them one by one and see if Under the Skin can be classified as such. Neorealism films traditionally used a lot of non-professional actors. For example, a shopkeeper character in a film could be played by an actual shopkeeper and not an actor pretending to be one. People walking the streets of a city were played by the actual denizens of that city and not Hollywood extras.
Hey,
am I keeping you from something? Where are you going?
Yeah.
For what? For work?
I need to go meet somebody.
Are you going to meet someone? Alright, thank you.
What this added to the film was a sense of reality, truth. Who would feel more like a mechanic than an actual mechanic? Who would feel more like a street urchin than a real street urchin? Acting in the 1940s and 1950s, the time in which neorealism became popular in Italy, often featured broad acting that would seem uncommon and even hammy by the more realistic style of today. Theater acting, not screen acting as we know it. Neorealism flipped all that and gave actors an honest voice because they were not actors. Does Under the Skin follow this example? Largely yes. Although Scarlett Johansson herself is a well-known actress, nearly everyone else in the film is not an actor at all. Many of the scenes in which she tries to pick up men were completely unscripted conversations with men on the street. They were filmed with hidden cameras. The director explained all this. Quote, "We shot much of the film like that, where we could build the cameras into the dashboard in her car or hide them in street furniture to watch her walking down the street and not alert the general public that there was any filming going on at all. Much of the film was shot covertly like that." Unquote. Much of the film is about sexuality and how readily men are to follow a woman they do not know if it may result in sex. By recording actual men being chatted up by a gorgeous woman who they do not know, and seeing whether or not they would get into a car at the promise of intimacy, we are seeing a more genuine response. Were it filmed in the traditional way, people would claim that these men are outliers to her invitation, uncommon. We may claim that no real, sensible man would ever enter what appeared to be a kidnapping scenario in hopes of having sex, and yet they did. These are real men, and they really are tempted. That's not all, though. The motorcyclist in the film is played by championship motorcycle road racer Jeremy McWilliams. The director needed a motorcyclist who could ride through the Scottish Highlands at high speed in bad weather conditions. Rather than shoot scenes of motorcycle riding and adding effects in later to make it seem like he was going faster and in riding in the rain, it was all done legitimately. The logger who falls for our protagonist is not a professional actor either. He was played by a man who owned one of the locations for the film. The man with neurofibrosis is actually a man with that condition. No prosthetics. The man who got the part worked in television production, but not as an actor. Adam Pearson, the man who played the part, actually broke his leg when he was struck by a taxi on his way to audition for his role. The director auditioned him at the hospital and gave him the job. In short, nearly everyone in the film is played by a non-professional actor to enhance the realism of Under the Skin. In addition to using non-professional actors in neorealist films, they also employed a lot of improvised dialogue to capture real emotion. As said, many of the conversations in this film are improvised. Under the Skin also eschews scripted dialogue in another way by having very little dialogue at all. In fact, it is not until 13 minutes into the film that we hear anything besides a mumble.
Falls.
Italian neorealism films were shot almost exclusively on location rather than in a soundstage. That is mostly true of Under the Skin, though there are a few notable exceptions. The all-white room and the all-black room. That's out of necessity more than anything else, though. In the 40s and 50s, soundstages and phony sets were standard. Italian neorealism wanted nothing to do with that. Neorealism films were not only shot on location, but also typically in run-down areas, bleak towns and rural sections of the country. Under the Skin takes place in small towns and backwoods areas of Scotland. One character, a traveler from the Czech Republic, says he wanted to come to this part of Scotland because, as he says, it's nowhere. That fits in with neorealism in spirit. Moral choice is another common feature in Italian neorealism, trying to pick the lesser of two evils, sometimes with catastrophic results. In Under the Skin, Laura's mysterious mission involves killing men. Halfway through the film, she meets someone who she cannot bring herself to kill. She then tries to make a real life for herself, and this backfires. Italian neorealism is also characterized by showing the day-to-day lives of average people. There is a lot of this in Under the Skin. The working-class man who lives on his own, the people walking the street, things like that. The only area in which Under the Skin deviates from these characteristics is the fact that we are actually watching science fiction. So we return to the question, is it possible to have a sci-fi film with neorealism elements? Yes, it appears so. In fact, it works astonishingly well, and captures a new level of truth in what otherwise would have been a fantastic, otherworldly story. As said, Under the Skin has very little dialogue, and what is spoken in the film is mostly improvised. This, combined with the gorgeous scenery and provocative black background scenes, makes for a film that focuses almost entirely on visuals as the primary way of moving the story forward. Such a feat can be challenging, but if done well, it can have its rewards. Fantasia, Disney's 1940 animated musical classic, features almost nothing spoken, except for short introductions of each segment by the composer. Each tale is told almost entirely through music and visuals. No segment suffers from lack of dialogue, though. Rather, it is enhanced. Film isn't always what you do, it's what you don't do. In this case, Fantasia has the audience hypnotized into a world of music and color. Our minds can fill in the blanks where the dialogue might have been, if it is even needed at all. The Raid Redemption, unlike Fantasia, has one cohesive story, and yet, much like Fantasia, it tells nearly all of its story through motion. This is not proof of a shallow film, though. Instead, it is evidence that a film can be told more through its sensory output than through traditional dialogue. Think about film as a medium. What sets it apart from other media? If film were only sound, it wouldn't be film, it would be a song. If film were only words, it wouldn't be a film, it would be a novel. When someone says, film is a visual medium, it's not just an obvious statement of fact that film can be seen. It's also an explanation of what makes it unique. Film can contain words and music, of course, but it is not the words or the music that makes it a film. It's a motion picture, because it has, well, moving pictures. In recognizing this, some directors can create a film that tells us what it wants us to know and to feel through visuals more than anything else. Under the Skin is one such film. Almost nothing is spoken except for some improvised conversations early in the film, and a few smatterings of dialogue sprinkled throughout the rest. Nothing is said unless it is necessary. If it is unnecessary, then it is left to our imagination. Of the visual style and lack of dialogue, the director has said, quote, "I'm more closely connected to silent movies and the power of images, and how images somehow bypass the intellect, and how we view them at a deeper level. If the images are propulsive, and we are immersed in that story, and we are moving forward in the story with those images, I think it can be an extraordinary experience." Unquote. In doing this, the director is giving us two gifts. First, he is respecting our intelligence. He is allowing us to watch the movie without exposition or even rudimentary explanation. We are being entrusted to make of the film what we will instead of having the message and the meaning delivered to us. Second, we are given the opportunity to gaze at the striking visuals of the film, and they are very engaging. Look at this scene. It has 3 layers. Foreground, a piece of furniture right up close to the camera, a middle ground, the actress, and a background, the beautiful hills of Scotland. It also shows us a great contrast between the scenery and the violence of the film. The director employs a lot of long shots. In this film, they serve a purpose beyond their natural aesthetic beauty. These long shots, often from a distance, give us a sense of isolation. It evokes that feeling, loneliness. Although it is never said outright because precious little is said outright in this film, Laura feels isolated. She is alone. She is alone on this planet, performing a gruesome job that alienates her from other living beings. When she meets someone, her task is to kill that person. The other purpose is to give the audience a sense of the protagonist witnessing these events. We follow her, and we see what she sees. We see our planet from her perspective. Showing quick cuts would be, as the director put it, cheating. Quote, "No, there's no cheating, because it needed to match the style, or the method, of the rest of the film, which is about her witnessing. Everything feels witnessed. There's a formalism to the way the film is shot, so that everything is witnessed. I wanted to shoot it all like a piece of news, like you were seeing it from a rock, and it was all happening over there. I hope there's a reality to it as a result." Unquote. When she meets someone who genuinely cares for her, and who she may feel the same way, she finds that her alien form cannot allow her to engage in physical intimacy. Shocked, frightened, and disappointed, she runs off. This is her isolation, her loneliness, and the visuals of the film tell us more than any spoken dialogue ever could. Towards the end of the film, a motorcycle rider overlooks a landscape shrouded in fog. Both the image and the pose closely mimics the famous painting Wanderer Above the Sea and Fog by Caspar David Friedrichs. Modern commentary on the painting often includes the belief that the painting is about an unknown future. The wanderer is looking into the fog, and indeed, he himself is unclear to us, with his back turned. Through visuals, the director is making a connection to the painting. If this scene in the film is meant to reflect feelings on the painting, one could say that it is about the motorcyclist not knowing Laura's future. Although the minimalist dialogue and the deliberate lack of exposition may make one think that Under the Skin is an inscrutable, abstract film, in reality, almost every scene has a very real and explainable literal interpretation. So let's go through everything step by step. The beginning of the film shows the slow formation of a human eye and a low mumbling of different sounds. This appears to be the creation of the human layer of skin and human voice for our protagonist. Afterwards, she is seen talking to various men on the street in a flirtatious manner. The men seem interested, but some are otherwise occupied and cannot join her.
You have a handsome face.
Aye,
Yeah.
thanks a lot, cheers.
You think I'm pretty?
Aye, they're gorgeous.
Do you?
Aye, definitely.
Good.
Showing multiple attempts to pick up men with her van, then multiple attempts to murder them in her lair, is purposeful repetition. We are meant to see this as the repetitiveness of her life, her job. Her mission, although never explicitly stated, appears to be the capture and breakdown of the human body. Their insides are used for something. Food, fuel, experiments. It is unclear. We are seeing the tedium of an invasion, the work. Most importantly, how unsatisfying her work is to her. Of this, the director has said, quote, "I think routine is what we wanted to show. Her job, her at work. Really, the first half of the film is that. It's watching her go about her job, if you like. If you make her presence equivalent to ours, it's like she's in a routine and a job she hates, and she begins to lose her focus and leaves her job. And part of that needed to be we needed to see relentless cycle, what she does." Unquote. She meets a man with neurofibrosis. He is not like the other men who simply want her for her body. The man is genuinely lonely and is very appreciative of the fact that Laura is willing to talk to him. Laura makes small talk with the man at first, but then their conversation becomes more intimate, not only due to their becoming physical with one another, but intimate in the sense that they are sharing their feelings. Laura is now emotionally closer to any other human being that we have seen with her before. She takes him back to her lair, but she can't go through with his murder. Laura allows the man to escape. The motorcyclist finds him and captures him. So, who is the motorcyclist? Another alien? Probably, but what is his function? It seems to be cleanup, taking care of the extraneous details of Laura's mission. Laura meets a man who cares for her. They try to have sex, but she realizes that her body, her real body, is not anatomically correct for a human, and that any attempt at intercourse would tear the false human skin. She walks through the forest, a stranger tries to rape her, but he is stopped when he accidentally tears away her fake body, revealing the alien beneath. He burns her. But why fire? In a literal sense, it's because the would-be rapist finds her so alien that she needs to be obliterated entirely, and to remove any evidence of what he tried to do. In a figurative sense, fire is cleansing. It takes away Lara completely because, as she realizes when she holds her human skin, she was not meant for this world. Sexuality plays a key role in the film. Lara's human facade is created with the express purpose of seducing men, but she learns that there is more to her life than seducing men and also servicing men in the form of the motorcyclist. One could argue that this is a feminist tale about sexual objectification. Of this, the director has said, quote, "The creature that Scarlett plays in the film exists to be objectified. She's there to be objectified, and what she does in the course of the film, in her own discovery, is she reclaims that. She de-eroticizes her own image, actually." Unquote. It's important to note that our inability to learn exactly what the invading forces want with our bodies in a literal sense is deliberately left to our imaginations. Two reasons for this. First, this is Lara's story, not the story of an alien invasion. This is about one living being, her attempts to cope with her new life on Earth, and her impossible struggle to fit in and create a home for herself. Second, the alien's desire for whatever is physically inside humans is representative of Lara's desire to understand what is figuratively inside humans, beneath the surface, under the skin. At the end of the film, Lara is exposed, and any chance of having what we would consider a normal life on Earth is ripped away from her. The title has a dual meaning, and the scenes in which the victims are broken down into human gore is a metaphor about her desire for what is inside. Thanks for watching.